Hello, my friends. If there is a movie you should never miss, it's of course Queens of Drama. First of all, this French movie just released like worldwide, but it was first released in France in 2024. So definitely a lot of people just missed this movie because of lack of exposure and lack of promotion, like international promotion. And this movie actually starts with two fictional singers who participating in some kind of contest called Starlet's Factory. And the main character, Billie Collar, she is a punk rocker. She is more of that, rebellious, like, underground type of, music. And she's, of course, queer in this, like, TV show. She is in this movie. She's the, like, main queer representative. And she is attending this contest, and she's about to go to sing on the stage, and this is like one of her, like, main moments of this character, because she's basically getting bullied a lot of because of her style and her personality. And in 2005, basically, there wasn't, like, a lot of good, like, reputation for being like this type of, artist, and to have this type of, like, lifestyle when you can just go on stage and openly talk about, like, your, uh, about what you think about your the community you're in, about the queer community. And she's openly just condemned, like, patriarchy on the stage when it wasn't really necessary. But this is about her personality. Billie Collar is that rebellious punk star who is gonna be a huge star, but later at some point. But her basically colleague on the same stage was chosen to be the next star, and her name is Madamour. Mimi Madamour basically is as well, she's also a fictional character who basically wasn't really so, like, friendly with Billie Collar at first, but like, that was just before they even interacted. So this first, like, encounter between two future stars wasn't really friendly. But Mimi Madamour, basically, she has a more conservative type of music to perform, and she is, of course, more suitable for mainstream because her genre more like pop culture. She looks even like common pop star. Even in 2005, there was almost like, not as much like singers as we have now, but even at that point it was already like established type of singers that everybody wanted to be. And this is like that type of feminine singer, of course pop singer, and songs basically they were really like not that controversial as like punk rock or something. And Billie was like the contrast to that Madamour style. She was chosen specifically to show this contrast between two different music like styles and between two different personalities. One is more free to actually just sing about what she wants and to talk openly about what she thinks. And her performances, they were basically like rebellious. And her first performance, after she was not chosen to be participating in that contest, Starlet's Factory, her first performance was actually so like, I would say, focused on masculine women, particularly in queer community, and it's just heavily focused on like muscles and pumped up woman, like, and she mostly performs these type of songs, like this is her style. And on that stage she's basically was doing the work everybody knows her for. And she has a lot of like audience that would come and just enjoy this type of music. And of course, in like Mimi's Madamour, like in Mimi Madamour's style, there wasn't really anything like this. She was way more like, reserved and performing just mainstream. And of course, she was chosen because of that type of music she was performing on that stage. And basically, she was attending this concert of Billie Collar, which was already like on her radar, because basically Mimi Madamour and Billie Collar, they hit it off from the very beginning on that contest. They kind of noticed each other, but the first real interaction happened after this concert. And the concert actually was wild if we consider this as just regular concert performed by Billie Collar. I would only imagine what she would do on the like really big stage. Like if she is given a chance, she would definitely just blow everything, just and her performance is of course drawing the same type of persons, like from queer community, masks, and all of them just they just feel comfortable watching this type of performance. But for Mimi Madamour and her friend, basically that was so strange. And in 2005, that was still like the type of music not everyone would really enjoy. But now most probably this is most preferable type of music, this type of genre, more rebellious and more like straightforward type of music. And first interaction between them actually happened after this concert, when Billie Collar basically got to know that Madamour was hiding her identity from her mother and everyone. Just this whole time she wasn't really transparent and never came out as a lesbian, and they were discussing like how they differently see music, like in general, how two artists differently perceive like music industry, and they working in the same industry, but they like see completely differently what happening, like in what direction it goes. And together they discussing another artists who were big stars in 80s, but now they like, they went downhill and everybody just forgot about them. And there were just two women who were particularly like reminiscent of Mimi Madamour and Billie Collar, because some suggests that they were having the same type of affair, like queer romance or something, and they discussing like this is like definitely related to their relationship, but they see differently every little thing. And this is the point of like argument, when they can see everything so differently, so they cannot really just discuss anything without fight. And Billie Collar's basically career is way more spontaneous. She's kind of working at a studio, which is actually some type of shop, and her basically band called Slit. And in this shop, like this kind of like mask shop or something like this, a lot of decorations like selling in this shop, but at the same time it's a studio. So she's like working at the studio, and together they planning to drop some type of banger. Mimi Madamour, Billie Collar, and another member of this band. This band was never actually like released. They didn't really expose themselves in a way that everyone would really recognize this band, but like separately they perform pretty, like I would say they perform to their own audiences. Mimi Madamour has her own like type of audience, and Billie Collar, she's about different type of people enjoying her music. And at some point they were actually just kind of enjoying just this time after they met, and something of course always should go wrong, because this time like they already, like specifically Mimi Madamour, she was chosen to go to the final of that contest, Starlet's Factory, and they were already ready for this, like as her becoming a huge pop star. If she is going to win this contest, she's definitely gonna be like on a big stage, and Billie Collar is going to teach her some things as like more experienced and more brave on the stage. She can teach her how to represent herself in more, I would say, like in different way to actually just make a show. But at the same time, she wasn't ready to see herself on TV after that contest. They actually just dropped this like full performance of Billie Collar, which was terrible because she was just screaming and she was just, saying everything out loud. She wasn't really singing at that point. She was just going on that stage to actually just, spill everything, she was thinking about. And basically, that was kind of hate towards patriarchy, and she was definitely like so fixated on that. And this is of course just basically never going to be like chosen by juries on that contest. Basically they were participating to become that pop star who is already established, the type of singer who is already like people already used to that type of pop star. And when you just go on the stage and scream and perform in the most outrageous way, this is of course not gonna be something like people expected. And after that, Madamour, she was actually going to the final of the Starlet's Factory, and she was basically the winner of that final. And that was the turning point of her career, and not only for her, but for Billie Collar. That was a really good moment because she realized that she taught her some things, and now she is becoming bigger star than she is herself. And like, she was expecting Madamour to appreciate everything Billie Collar taught her. She was really just thinking that they had like the genuine connection and the fame and all that, like celebrity like things never would happen to Madamour. She would never just choose her over Billie, but that actually happened to Billie Collar. And after that final of Starlet's Factory, Billie basically was neglected by Madamour, and she was basically left out as outsider. She was feeling like that, Madamour basically was chosen because she was comforting and she was basically, catering to that mainstream audience. And of course, this is something like hurting Billie's personality in general, because she feeling like this is not fair, because she is like trying to be herself. She's just performing the type of music she likes, and she would never just change it for any hype or any type of fame, because she is not about mainstream. She's not about doing whatever it takes to be famous, But at the same time, Mimi Madamour is already getting like her first music video shot. It's being shot, and Billie just coming to see Mimi Madamour, because now they like kind of dating, but at the same time, Mimi Madamour never actually told anybody that she is like even a queer, or she is even like, having any like girlfriend or boyfriend. And she's having two different like lives. One is her personal life, and one is her public life. But those two lives, they are completely different. And she basically prefers to lie on the stage and to perform something people would just like, and to maintain her career. But at the same time, she feels like her real personality that is hidden, that queer identity, that is more important for her, definitely. But she would never like let it go and to expose herself in that way, because people would just condemn you, and specifically her mother is the person she fears to disappoint. At the same time, Billie and her colleague, they actually together, they completed this song, the banger they were supposed to record together. The three of them, Billie, Mimi, and this woman. They was like, the band was the three of them basically. But now like they left just the two of them, and they feel, of course, like it's like the last chance to drop a huge banger, But basically, Mimi Madamour, now like she is a big star. She is, of course, she just basically blew off her participation, and she basically rejected to be on that song, because now like it's not a good time for her to participate in something like this, and she even got this reward, which is the reward of the year, the best like singer or something like this. And for Billie, this is just a huge, blow, because she's definitely was expecting like herself, on that stage, not for reward, but at least to be appreciated by audience, and specifically to be appreciated by Mimi. But now she sees like all the attention, all the like recognition, just not on her side but on Mimi's. And this is getting her, resorting to self-destruction. She's definitely like in a very bad like state right now. She's just not performing. She is just drinking on the stage. And once Mimi came finally to appreciate her for that reward, she didn't even like take any excuse, because now like Mimi can only do that like outside of your own audience, because she doesn't want anybody to see that or to hear that. She only wanted to, you know, appreciate Billie in private, to not expose her feelings and to just stay as a secret in this like relationship. She prefers, like, to hide everything, even though the like all the hype, all the like career is due to Billie's efforts, of course, but now like they definitely not gonna be together. They, at this point, they kind of became rivals, and that was the last point they were really like talking. After that happened something like Billie is gonna be going crazy and performing even more, rebellious and outrageous music. And her performance basically always draws attention from specific audience. It's not like she never actually received any recognition, but as like mainstream artist, she wasn't really recognized. She was more niche type of artist. And now like Mimi even getting like affair with one of her, let's say this time she is a jury on that contest, and 10 years later she is already established huge pop star, and she is like taking that seat as a teacher, as a jury for participants. And at the beginning of your career, she was that participant, and now like she is on the other side, just choosing who is gonna be the next star, And she was even having an affair with one of those participants. At the same time, we were actually introduced two characters who were basically the inspiration of Mimi Madamour and Billie Coller's careers. They were basically huge stars before Mimi Madamour's era, and they were fictional as well, but the downhill of their careers was similar, like it was similar to careers of Mimi Madamour and Billie Coller's basically. And a lot of like comparison to those two women. And Billie Coller basically, she went crazy in her like new style. She changed really everything from the way she looks, and she's gonna be exposing everything about Mimi, specifically that Mimi was having an affair with Billie, and they were basically like recording this video to expose Mimi Madamour and to put her in a bad situation when she's gonna be like explaining herself to everyone, specifically to her mother, because now like this is not like gossip, but this is like officially revealed information. which was backed up by video of them together. So there is nothing like but the huge evidence of her identity. And on this TV show, on interview that Mimi Madamour was giving to this uh, woman, she was actually asked questions about how she was hiding that long her identity, and she was basically lying to her audience to get to that point where she is now, to get all the hype and all the fame. She was basically lying to her like audience who made her the star she is now. And they basically even called her mother to tell her everything about her daughter, basically on that late night show or something like this. She was basically, condemned, and she was like leaving that late night show like so desperate. And she felt like now everything is gonna change, because now it's like it's gonna be a lot of hate towards her, but it's also a moment for Billie to shine, since the only one big star, is gonna be forgotten. This is the moment for Billie to shine, and Billie was chosen as the best singer of a year. She was chosen, and she got the same reward that Mimi got previous years. And this is basically like when tables turned, and now like all the fame, all the recognition that Mimi enjoyed, everything just now on Billie's side. And this is like something that this movie is gonna explore. And this movie specifically delves into themes of how fame and striving for attention can really just, change someone's personality in a bad way. So this is like the moment when they realized that there is no like career or something that can, replace what they had before. And basically they even got in the same jail, because Billie, she's chosen their relationship over career, over that reward. And I don't know, this like musical, at the same time, this is the only musical I would really watch, because I never actually watched any musical, and it is like the first time I really enjoyed something like this, because basically musical genre, specifically when it's not in English, never really something I would like watch. But this movie is different, and this is different in every aspect you can only imagine, because this is definitely the type of movie like you would immediately recognize. And this is definitely like stands out from everything from this year and from 2024. And this is festival movie, and the format, the style, everything, the approach is just screaming that this is the festival movie. But at the same time, this is not like this is not something not suitable for casual viewers, because it was of course made for festival and it was received pretty well. But as a casual viewer, I can tell you that this is definitely worth watching, and this is something you would go and watch, specifically if you like the exploration of queer like representatives in movies and TV shows. And this representation of queer community is way different from everything you've seen. And from my perspective, I can definitely tell that in this movie, like, I would just, learn a lot of things about how to never let any influence, fame, or anything like money to change your personality, especially in a bad way. And in this movie, a lot of situations just focusing directly on prioritizing your relationship and maintain the genuine connection you already have, instead of just going crazy about every portion of fame you can get, because people would forget you immediately after another big huge star just comes on that stage. And this is something about the two women who were basically attending the same contest, but one woman was chosen and another was rejected, and their just lives turned into completely different directions. But at the same time, they were members of the same band, music band, and they were kind of still bounded by that music they were doing together. And when they finally just found that type of music each of them was enjoying, they decided just to give up on that. They decided to give up on pursuing career, pursuing big stage, and to basically cater to mainstream, and they completely changed into different persons. Specifically, Mimi Madamour, she was changing at some point into the contrast figure of her initial mainstream person. And Billie Kohler was always transparent, and she never actually hide. She would never hide anything, and this is why for her it wasn't really that difficult to to get over this situation, because probably she knew that this fame for Mimi, it's not long term. It's just only about time when everything is gonna be, changed. And her turn to shine on that stage came when she was basically desperate and when she was left by Mimi, and she was expecting appreciation from Mimi, but after she realized that Mimi's personality changed and under that influence she's not the same person anymore, she just did what she considered is right, and she revealed Mimi's personality. She reveals her identity as a queer, and after that there is no more hiding anymore. She is exposed every secret of Mimi's, and at this point just they of course went to completely different directions, but it's still about the same thing. If you're trying to be someone you're not, if you're trying to conform that people who is gonna forget you just by a minute, if you're gonna just choose them over your friend, over your girlfriend, this is of course the karma is gonna be just soon, because it's not fair for anybody, but it's kind of selfish, and that is the main message of this movie. So this is everything I wanted to tell you about this movie. Thank you. See you next time. Goodbye.